Is American Thanksgiving the moment when NHL front offices finally stop pretending everything is fine and start making the moves that could save or completely destroy their seasons? Because right now, we're watching three franchises in absolute crisis mode, and the trade rumors swirling around Nashville, Edmonton, and Toronto are about to explode into full-blown chaos. The question isn't if these teams will make blockbuster moves anymore. It's when, and more importantly, will these desperate gambles actually work, or are we about to witness organizational meltdowns of historic proportions? Let's establish the stakes here, because this isn't just another random point in the NHL calendar. Since the 2014-15 season, a staggering 67.3% of teams sitting inside the playoff picture at American Thanksgiving have gone on to qualify for the postseason. Read that statistic again and let it sink in. This means that if you're on the outside looking in right now, your chances of making the playoffs have dropped dramatically. The margin for error is gone. The time for patience has expired. This is when general managers either pull the trigger on franchise-altering moves or watch their seasons slip away while they hesitate. And right now, three teams are generating the most buzz on the trade market. The Nashville Predators, who are in complete freefall, the Edmonton Oilers, whose goaltending situation has become untenable, and your Toronto Maple Leafs, who are desperately trying to salvage what's left of this disaster season. Buckle up, because this is about to get wild. The Nashville Predators are dead last in the NHL. Dead last. They're 2-6-2 in their last 10 games, and the franchise that made massive offseason splashes by signing Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault is now preparing to dismantle everything and sell off the pieces. This is what organizational panic looks like. Folks, the Stamkos and Marchessault situation, Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, were supposed to be the missing pieces that pushed Nashville into legitimate contention. Instead, they're reportedly open to joining a contender if it reaches that point. Translation, they want out, and they want out now. Think about how catastrophic this is. These weren't depth signings. These were marquee free agent acquisitions that generated massive headlines and gave Predators fans hope that their team was ready to compete for a Stanley Cup. And now, less than halfway through the season, both players are essentially asking for trade requests. The market for both should be robust. Stamkos, despite his age, still brings offensive firepower and championship pedigree. Marchessault is a proven playoff performer who can slot into any team's top 6 forward group. But here's the problem. Nashville signed these guys to significant contracts with term remaining. Moving them means either retaining salary or taking back bad contracts in return. This is the nightmare scenario for any general manager. You make big splashes in free agency. The moves completely backfire, and now you're stuck trying to unload expensive veterans while your team sits in the basement. There's no good way out of this mess. The Ryan O'Reilly conundrum. Ryan O'Reilly presents an even more complicated situation. According to reports, Nashville's asking price for O'Reilly is too high, which suggests they're either overvaluing their asset or they're not actually serious about moving him. O'Reilly is the exact type of player contending teams covet. A two-way center who can win face-offs, kill penalties, and elevate his game in the playoffs. But if Nashville is demanding premium assets for a 33-year-old rental, they're going to price themselves out of the market. This is where desperation meets delusion. Nashville needs to move players to recoup assets and start rebuilding, but they also don't want to give away quality players for nothing. The result is a stalemate where nobody wins. The Just Saros dilemma, Just Saros, has been a hot topic of discussion, but his recent struggles have complicated any potential trade. This is fascinating because Saros was considered one of the elite goaltenders in the NHL just months ago. Now, his value has cratered along with his team's performance. The question becomes, is Saros struggling because his team is terrible, or is he struggling because he's not as good as we thought? The answer probably lies somewhere in the middle, but perception matters in trade negotiations. If teams believe Saros' struggles are team-related, they'll still pay a premium. If they think he's declining, his value plummets. Nashville is in a brutal position here. They could trade Saros now and potentially not get full value, or they could hold on to him and watch his value deteriorate further if the struggles continue. Neither option is appealing. Yossi and Forsberg. The nuclear option here is where things get absolutely insane. Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg are reportedly more available than ever before. Let that sink in. The Predators are potentially willing to trade their franchise cornerstones. These aren't rental players or aging veterans. These are elite talents in their prime who would command massive returns on the trade market. Josi is a Norris Trophy-winning defenseman who can quarterback a power play and play in all situations. Forsberg is a dynamic offensive force who has been the face of the franchise for years. If Nashville is seriously considering moving either player, it signals a complete organizational reset. The report suggests there'll be ones to watch for in the offseason, which makes sense. Trading players of that caliber requires time, patience, and the right situation. You can't rush those deals. But the fact that they're even being discussed tells you everything you need to know about how dire things are in Nashville. If Nashville's situation is bad, Edmonton's goaltending crisis is approaching DEFCON 1 levels of urgency. Stuart Skinner's experiment as the Oilers' franchise goaltender is officially over, and the fallout is going to be spectacular. The breaking point Tuesday's 8-3 loss to Dallas might have been a final straw. 8 goals allowed in a single game for a team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Losing 8-3 is absolutely unacceptable, and the blame falls squarely on the goaltending. Insiders are openly wondering how much longer this relationship can continue, which is NHL insider speak for this guy is getting traded immediately. Skinner is all but out the door, and Stan Bowman is scrambling to find a replacement. The problem? Finding quality goaltending midseason is hard, really hard, especially when every team in the league knows you're desperate. The Jordan Binnington blockbuster, the Oilers have reportedly engaged in blockbuster trade talks with the St. Louis Blues about Jordan Binnington. This is fascinating for multiple reasons. First, Binnington is a Stanley Cup champion who has proven he can perform on the biggest stage. He's also wildly inconsistent, occasionally brilliant, and comes with a significant cap hit and term remaining on his contract. Second, the Blues are not in a position where they need to trade Binnington. They have leverage. They can sit back, let Edmonton get desperate, and extract maximum value. Third, what would a blockbuster trade for Binnington even look like? The Oilers don't have a ton of assets to move. Their prospect pool is depleted from years of win-now moves. Their draft pick cupboard is bare. So what exactly are they offering St. Louis that would constitute a blockbuster? This smells like a situation where Edmonton might have to massively overpay just to get a goaltender who might not even be a significant upgrade over what they have. The Tristan Jarry interests the Oilers have also shown newly increased interest in Pittsburgh Penguins netminder Tristan Jarry, which is interesting. Jarry has been inconsistent throughout his career. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but has also had stretches where he's been borderline unplayable. He's currently struggling in Pittsburgh, which raises a question. Why would Edmonton want him? The answer is probably desperation. When you're drowning, you'll grab onto anything that floats, even if it's not a life raft. Jarry represents a potential change, and right now, Edmonton needs something different. But acquiring Jarry feels like rearranging deck chairs on Titanic. He's not a franchise-altering goaltender. He's not going to suddenly transform Edmonton into a defensive juggernaut. He's a lateral move at best, and potentially a downgrade at worst. Bowman's dilemma Stan Bowman wanted to ride out the season with Skinner and avoid making a major goaltending move. That plan has completely collapsed, and now he's forced to act sooner than later. This is the worst possible position for a general manager. You're negotiating from weakness. Every team knows you're desperate. Every team knows you have to make a move. That means you're going to get fleeced on a return. The Oilers' window is closing. McDavid and Draisaitl aren't getting any younger. If Edmonton wastes another season because they couldn't figure out goaltending, it's organizational malpractice of the highest order. And now we arrive at your Toronto Maple Leafs, who are in full-blown crisis mode and desperately trying to make roster changes that will salvage this train wreck of a season. The core remains untouchable. For now, Brad Treliving has made it clear. The core group of star forwards is off limits. That means Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and John Tavares aren't going anywhere. This takes the most interesting trade possibilities off the table, but also signals that management still believes in this group's ability to win. The question is, should they? This core has had years to prove they can win when it matters, and they failed every single time. At what point do you admit that the problem is the core, not the supporting cast? At what point do you blow it all up and start over? Apparently, that point hasn't arrived yet. Treliving is committed to running it back with the Stars and changing everything else around them. The Morgan Rielly bombshell here is where things get really interesting. Morgan Rielly has notably not been included among the untouchables in Toronto. Morgan Rielly, the longest tenured Maple Leaf, the guy who has been with this organization through all the ups and downs, the defenseman who wears an A and represents everything about this era of Leafs hockey. He's potentially available. This is massive. If Treliving is willing to move Rielly, it signals that he's willing to push the needle and get uncomfortable if the right deal becomes available. Translation: nobody is truly safe. Rielly would command significant interest on the trade market. He's a mobile, puck-moving defenseman who can quarterback a power play and eat major minutes. He's also 30 years old with term remaining on his contract, which makes him attractive to contending teams looking for stability on the blue line. But here's the problem. What does Toronto get back that actually makes them better? If you're trading Rielly, you better be getting back either a significant upgrade or multiple pieces that address glaring weaknesses. Otherwise, you're just making change for the sake of change. Domi and Carlo. The expected casualties Max Domi and Brandon Carlo remain the more likely trade candidates, which we've already discussed extensively. These moves make sense from a roster shakeup perspective, but they don't fundamentally change what this team is. Domi has been disappointing. Carlo hasn't lived up to expectations. Moving them creates cap space and roster spots for new players. But unless those new players are significant upgrades, you're just spinning your wheels. Maxelli and Joshua. The off-season additions already on the block, perhaps most damning, is the fact that Matthias Maxelli and Dakota Joshua, both off-season additions, were healthy scratched on Wednesday night in Columbus and could already find themselves on the block. Think about how catastrophic this is. You sign players in the off-season, they don't work out, and now you're trying to trade them less than 3 months later. That's not roster management. That's panic. Healthy scratching players send a message to the entire locker room. Nobody is safe, performance matters. And if you're not producing, you're expendable. That can be motivating or it can be toxic. Given Toronto's current situation, it's probably the latter. The bigger picture for Toronto here is what Leafs fans need to understand. Making trades for the sake of making trades doesn't fix fundamental problems. If the issue is coaching, trading players doesn't help. If the issue is core performance, trading depth pieces doesn't help. If the issue is organizational culture, trading anyone short of the Stars doesn't help. Treliving is in an impossible position. He needs to do something to show ownership and fans that he's trying to fix the problem. But the moves he's able to make probably won't actually move the needle significantly. This is what organizational purgatory looks like. You're not good enough to contend, but you're not bad enough to blow it up and rebuild. You're stuck in the middle, making desperate moves that might provide short-term relief but don't address long-term issues. What makes the situation even more fascinating is how these three team situations are interconnected. Nashville is selling, which creates opportunity for teams like Toronto and Edmonton to buy. But Toronto and Edmonton are also dealing with their own crises, which limits their ability to take advantage. The trade market is a complex ecosystem where one team's desperation becomes another team's opportunity. Right now, we have three desperate teams all trying to make moves simultaneously. That creates chaos, and chaos creates opportunities for savvy general managers to exploit. So what happens next? Here's what we know. Nashville is going to sell. Multiple veterans will be moved. The question is whether they get fair value or panic and give away assets for pennies on the dollar. Edmonton is going to acquire a goaltender. Whether it's Binnington, Jerry, or someone else entirely, Skinner's days are numbered. The question is whether the new goaltender actually solves their problems or just creates new ones. Toronto is going to make roster moves. Multiple players will be traded. The question is whether these moves actually improve the team or just create the illusion of progress. American Thanksgiving marks the point where urgency becomes desperation, where hope becomes panic, where measured decision-making gives way to reactionary moves that could define franchises for years to come. The next few weeks are going to be absolutely wild. 3 franchises in crisis mode, multiple blockbuster trades potentially on the horizon, careers and legacies hanging in the balance. For Leafs fans specifically, this is the moment of truth. Either Treliving makes moves that actually improve this team and they climb back into playoff contention, or the moves backfire and this season becomes a complete write-off. The Thanksgiving threshold has arrived. The playoff picture is taking shape, and the teams on the outside are running out of time to fix their problems. What do you think happens next? Will Nashville blow it all up? Will Edmonton solve their goaltending crisis? Will Toronto's roster shakeup actually work? Drop your predictions in comments, and smash that like button if you want more hard-hitting NHL trade analysis. This is just the beginning, and it's going to be a wild ride to the trade deadline.